What's the C2, C9 district? What is that?
That's the one they're talking about down by the roundabout towards Maltaville
Okay.
and the bypass. Right on that corner. Heading south on the right. This side of the bypass. There's a whole area back in there that they want to turn it into like some senior housing back in there.
Senior housing where My Way Cafe used to be.
Adjacent to that, the Starting Gate cottages
Okay.
down in there. He's had it for sale for years. As a matter of fact, I'm surprised he's not here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's November 13th, 2023 Town Board meeting. Ask at this time to rise for the salute to the flag and silent prayer. Please keep in your thoughts and prayers this evening for in memory of Al Schmidt, who passed away, longtime business owner, resident of Malta, of Alice Malta TV, and also volunteer on our CERT team and Emergency Preparedness Committee. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda is to accept the meetings.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And it is carried. Comments from town board members or department heads? I just have something real briefly. We had the Veterans Day, or a salute to our veterans at brunch at the community center. Kristen Gottman, thank you to you and your crew at the community center for putting that together. And it was well attended. It's a wonderful time to show our appreciation to our veterans in town. So it's always a joy to be a part of that each year. So thank you again. And that's all that I have.
Yeah, I had a couple of quick things. One, I had the occasion to swing through by the athletic fields today and saw the really incredible monuments that have been placed that we asked to have done and spoke with others about honoring both Ken Green from Saratoga Economic Development Corporation and the late Senator Joe Bruno for their incredible work in bringing originally AMD to Malta, to the Luther Forest Technology Campus. If you get a chance to get over to the fields, they're beautiful stone monuments recognizing their achievements and with some really poignant words about leadership and what they meant to our community. Both guys that were real giants in our community, and one that I was proud to call a friend, and did a lot of great things for our town. And then second, I alluded to this about a month ago and finally have some details, but it does look like the Malta Business Works organization will be holding their first, hopefully annual holiday tree lighting event on Friday, December 8th. That's going to be, there'll be a tree being brought in right in front of the lofts on Route 9. So a lot of area businesses are working together on that already. Should be a really fantastic community event. And I know the information will be up on their website and social media shortly, but you can go ahead and book that, mark that on your calendar. It's the second Friday in December. Should be a really cool event. Hopefully it's something that'll become an annual thing.
That's
it.
awesome. Thank you very much, Tim. Any other board members have anything to say? Department heads. Roger, you have anything? Kristen? Awesome.
We had our first annual dog parade at the Malta Ecological Park, which we had 14 people sign up. It was a torrential downpour, about 5 or 6 dogs.
Yes.
But we actually had 2 families show up.
Sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Watch the dogs that were all dressed up, and they had some great costumes. So hopefully this will become an annual event. We also had our Treasures on the Trail, which was a scavenger hunt on the day off in the Balsas Festivals. I think it was the 20th of October, it was Friday. We had about 30 or 40 kids show up running through the park, searching for the treasures that we left. We also, what else do we have? I think we've talked about everything else, but I would like to thank.
We had Malta Gardens
the
Halloween event as well.
We did that. Art also did her Halloween program at Shenandoah. Then we did a program just for Malta Gardens residents and the apartments Malta Point. We had a lot of kids show up for that. They seemed very grateful.
They did. It was a very, very nice event, and it was also well attended. It was a beautiful day too. That's back when it was still warm.
The dog parade wasn't as nice.
No, it was not.
But it is what it is. You can't control the weather. But I did want to thank Kathy Eitzman, Mary Salica, Barb Mazarak, and who's my other volunteer? We had a lot of volunteers that helped out with the veterans. Roseanne Clavin, who also came and helped. I couldn't have done it without them. There was way too much stuff to do. In the past, we've always had it in hands. They walked in, they did everything. We had to do it this time. And the maintenance department, who also picked up all of the food and brought it back. So just wanted to thank them for that.
Thank you, Kristen. Yeah, it was a very nice event for our veterans. Anyone else? Okay, comments from residents.
Hello, I'm Tom Nicholson, Sierra Trace, Wollaston Lake, and I'm also associated with the Malta Community Garden. I'm the grants and marketing person. So we've become aware of a grant program that the Ag and Markets has available. They've got made $1 million available to award what they say 20 to 50 grants to community, specifically called out community gardens as one of the targets for the community awards. The board has, or the committee has discussed what we might be able to apply for, and we'd like to submit a request to upgrade, for money to upgrade the pathways that are in the garden. Right now, the pathways are cardboard with wood chip on top, and we try to renew that every year. It does become a tripping hazard sometimes because of the cardboard underneath and when the chips would get worn off. It also would make it look a lot better. So,
Can I ask I've never heard of such a thing, cardboard under, I mean, is there,
put the cardboard down and try to keep the weeds from coming
I understand. Could we just get some rolls of weed mat and put them down and put the chips on top instead?
Well, we could do that. We have been accumulating some rolls of mats. You still end up with a potential for a tripping hazard if those rolls come loose on the ground.
Isn't weed mat typically put down through large, they call them staples, to keep the weed mat in place?
You typically use a large plastic.
So the tripping hazard would be from the wood chips? What would be the tripping hazard, I guess what I'm trying to understand?
If we were to use
The weed mat, the way it's typically installed professionally.
if it were installed, well, that's what we want to do, is to have something installed professionally, instead of having the group of volunteers that, from the garden residents,
Mm-hmm.
put down the cardboard and the wood chips as we do now.
Now, the grants that you're looking at, was that do you know what the match is with that in terms of the town contributing, or is that to cover the entire cost, or?
It's to cover the entire cost.
Okay.
Right now, our budget is $500 for materials and $500 for labor. Some of $1,000. The last couple of years, we've had about 50 gardeners, so we're revenue neutral. And not really asking for anything more from the town than what we bring in. But what we would like to do is submit a grant to upgrade the pathways there, either use the mats or put down some other kind of foundation with gravel on top. So I don't know if first of all, we're informing you that's what we would like to do.
Do you need us to support that in some way?
I don't know, it probably would be better if you did support it. I imagine that when the grants finally are awarded, and the date for that is February 1st, we would come back to you and say, hey, this is the amount of money we have. We've got these estimates. I would also want to issue an RFP to a number of landscapers to try to get an idea of what funds that would be required in order to do this.
Would the board be comfortable having Mark send a letter of support with a grant application? I certainly would.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
That was pretty easy.
Yeah, it was. Am I done? The little green light on here now means I can go?
Questions get harder from here, though.
Okay.
Especially after you get the money.
That's right.
So just to be clear, then, you do not want wood chips anymore. Now you want gravel. That's, so that I get it straight, what it is you're actually asking for.
Yes, we want gravel. The last few years, we've run out of wood chips and haven't been able to completely cover all of the paths that
If you
are-
had wood chips, would you prefer those over gravel?
I don't know. Wood chips are biodegradable, so if some of them got thrown into the gardens themselves, it wouldn't be that big a deal.
Right, and that's kind of why I was asking, because typically gravel in any kind of landscaping, especially if you're trying to keep it somewhat neat, stones inevitably, whether they're kicked or what have you, they get off into where areas you don't want them. As you said, wood chips, a lot of people use it as mulch anyway. It really wouldn't interfere with any of the gardening, so to speak, and it's probably going to look better, but it's typically, it's totally whatever the community garden folks would like to see out there.
Yeah, we were talking gravel. I don't know if we really thought about wood chips. The more I think about using wood chips on a good base would,
If it's prepared
Probably.
properly and you've got a good commercial grade weed fabric underneath, and that's where it's the most important, is you have a good weed fabric, and then you have your wood chips. Typically, that it's not really an issue. It's a lot of actually nurseries, they use that as well.
yeah,
So they just put it down and then you put their wood chips over it.
agreed. And
But
then,
we'll support whatever the folks in the community garden want to do.
okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I knew we couldn't get by without her coming up.
seems like our meeting was so long ago, I almost forgot what we did. But we had almost 90 seniors come, and we had a Medicare update, so that was great. We have a Christmas luncheon coming up in December with 160 members coming. So again, thanks for your support. And I did submit a reimbursement of $180, which was an overpayment that we did. So you've got that in front of you. Thank you.
Al said he's going to take care of that for
Okay,
you.
great, thanks.
Thank you, Kathy. Anyone else from the public would like to speak? Okey dokey. There being none, we can move right into town board business. The first item on the agenda is to adopt the 2024 town budget.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion.
Just again, wanted to echo statements I made previously here that I thought both Julia and Mark, you guys did a great job on the budget. Excited to see the investments that are being made here, especially the investments to continue to try to improve the drainage problems in Luther Forest. That's something that we have been talking about every year since I've been on this council. And this is a real investment in it this year to hopefully alleviate some of these really big problems in Luther Forest. So I'm definitely very excited about that. And I, again, just want to say kudos to Julia and Supervisor Hammond. And I'm very excited to hand my binder back in.
Really?
My kids have to keep moving down the way.
It does take up a lot of room. Any other further discussion?
Mark, may I?
Yes, John, go ahead.
I echo certainly Tim's comments about your time and Julia and others' time invested in to help us get to this point. As everybody on the town board knows, I had asked for consideration for additional staffing in the contracted sheriff's department patrols. And just to beat a dead horse here, in terms of where I'm coming from, of course, you don't know this about me, but my family kind of has a background in law enforcement. If you ever go down to Albany at the plaza, you'll see there's a memorial to fallen officers in the state. And if you look on there, if you look way around to the right in the upper right-hand side, you'll see my great-grandfather, Nicholas Smith, was shot and killed on patrol while patrolling in South Buffalo. And his son, my grandfather, Raymond Smith, went on to be a police chief, precinct captain, excuse me, not chief, captain, precinct captain in Buffalo. And in my younger years as a county official, one of the major functions of county government is law enforcement and criminal justice. And, over that 17-year period, spent a lot of time, dealing with law enforcement and criminal justice issues, from our sheriff's patrol, our courts, our probation department, our jail, prosecutors. And in addition to that, when I was county attorney, most people don't realize this, but the role of county attorney in New York is to be essentially the equivalent of the district attorney with respect to juvenile offenders. Your office prosecutes juveniles that commit crime. So I spent a lot of time dealing with and have this kind of orientation towards law enforcement and criminal justice and such. Does that make me an expert in law enforcement in Malta? It doesn't, but it kind of informs my perspective. There's a lady in the back here who some months ago asked about criminal, crime statistics. And I had spent some time on it, as I indicated I would. And the crime statistics are not available at the town of Malta level. But Division of Criminal Justice Service does aggregate statistics statewide by county. and you can find these statistics on their website. They have a database. And I was really surprised to see this. In my time on the town board, violent crimes, every police agency is required to report to DCJS criminal activity. Violent crimes countywide, in the time I've been on town board, doubled, which is really kind of a sad thing to see. And I've left copies of the statistics and the graph over there for you to look at, for those that are interested. If I ever get the detail, I asked for detailed statistics. I don't know whether we'll ever get them, but they're there. So the other thing that I think kind of informs me about this issue is, well, you can't have precise information about what exactly is going on in Malta. You have, the countywide statistics, but they're consistent with growing violent crime in our, in our community, and I think we all see that anecdotally. But the process of making decisions in budgeting is, and in local government generally, and government generally, is not always a completely objective process. You're forced to make decisions based on incomplete information. And so the way I look at it is, well, if we were really stretched for resources, then having not a completely clear picture, maybe you wouldn't want to make a decision to spend more money on something. But in fact, we're not stretched for resources. The town of Malta has more fund balance, more reserves than we've ever had in our history. And the primary reason for that, and again, I left the chart and a graph over on the table if you want to look at it, is, and this is no surprise to anybody, our sales tax growth has been just huge. I put this together today, and this is in the information I previously sent to the town board. Our total sales tax from 2018 was $5.3 million annual actual revenue, not budgeted, actual. For 2022, these are rounded, $8.1 million. So our sales tax over that 4-year period grew $2.3 million in additional revenue. We're not spending that. Does that mean you should just frivolously spend the money on things you don't need? It does not. But to my way of thinking, when we have those resources available to us, law enforcement is my priority, and the information we have available to us indicates that we have a growing problem of great concern with violent crime around us. And with that background, I would move we amend the tentative budget to increase the appropriation for 3120.4 by another $287,000 to a total of $574,000, to be offset by $287,000 of additional appropriated fund balance, and respectfully request a second.
Applying that,
Sorry, I didn't hear what Craig, what did you say?
I was going to ask him how he was going to apply that, though.
What would be for additional sheriff's patrols? That's what the line item's for.
Right, and I thought we inquired about that, but there was a staffing issue at this time, and the sheriff could not support that.
Well, he said that he could not provide us with the data that we had requested in terms of criminal activity. So we don't have his data, and, I have no reason to believe that he's not being candid with us. This
If I
would
can
be,
just,
I thought it was staffing.
if I can just add real quickly, John, when you had inquired about the increase to the budget for law enforcement, and at your request, and the board's request, I did reach out to Sheriff Zerlo and asked him, if he personally, or if he had statistical data to support the need for actually doubling what we have currently, which is we're just really just shy of a year in the dedicated service through the Sheriff's Department contract. And basically, I could tell in conversation with him that he's showing the stress of basically there's a vacuum in the Sheriff's Department right now, and it's largely due to a number of, well, it's not one thing, it's a number of things. They recently, the Sheriff's PBA signed a contract that basically it got their union a 20-year retirement, which is huge, especially when you're in any of those, whether it's law enforcement, any public safety, firefighting, doesn't matter. After 20 years, trust me, you're ready to retire. It's taken its toll on you. So with the 20-year retirement, what that did, and they took that, by the way, the Sheriff's PBA, they actually took that contract or that agreement without a pay raise. So that's how much they wanted a 20-year retirement. So they got the 20-year retirement. What happened was basically a vacuum basically was formed because there's so many people have jumped on the retirement train to leave the Sheriff's Department, and that coupled with basically law enforcement in general is not a job that people are largely flocking towards to get for a lot of different reasons. And whether it's societal or other reasons, doesn't matter. The fact is, a lot of people don't want to be police officers today. So you've got a lot of people leaving and not a lot of people want to join, and they don't want to be a member of that. So to the point, Sheriff Zerlo said, quite frankly, Mark, I don't have enough officers really just barely to cover the zones that we have right now and the dedicated patrols for the town, such as Malta that he has right now. So doubling, or actually, in a sense, yes, doubling what we would have and make that an additional, whether it's another patrol unit at the same time or more hours, it doesn't matter. He said it's really unattainable to him. So the conversation went from there into, well, in your opinion, how is Malta doing overall when you look at Saratoga County in terms of the crime rate? And he said, again, that's something that's going to require a deeper dive because data is data, and it's only as good as the people that are doing it and researching the numbers. He goes, that takes personnel to do that. But he said, if you were to ask me just my reaction, my feelings, my gut,
That's what he said.
Malta is doing okay. We're fine where we are in terms of law enforcement. We're not rampant with crime. Yes, there's crime around us. So far, so good. We're holding our own, so to speak.
You did share his comments with us.
I did,
And he
yes.
did say, even if you gave us the money, like I said, it meant not warranted, but he couldn't staff it even if you gave him a bucket full of money.
Right.
The one thing I would say, look, I've been around this kind of, doing this my whole life, and so you got to get a second to your motion, right? I understand that. I respect the board's majority makes the choice. The one thing I would say to you, though, is that, I respect Mike a great deal, an excellent sheriff, but that's got nothing to do with it. And I have no reason to doubt that there's an issue in the interim with actually providing officers to staff patrols. But that's a solvable problem. You provide additional resources, you hold academies, you generate graduates from academies, and eventually you'll hopefully find people to fill those positions. And and the money will be there should we do this, so that they can be appointed to those positions. Like I admitted at the outset, I'm not an expert in the status of criminal activity in Malta, but I was really kind of shocked when I saw violent crime doubled in Saratoga County in my time on the board. There's the graph.
Hey, John, I totally support your effort. I wished it was brought up earlier. in the
You can fix it
process.
now. I respect your right to, but
Oh.
but you have a motion?
Hear me out. But if he can't support that at this time, in the future, I totally support that. Crime is going up. It is violent, and they're getting younger and younger. I know that for a fact in this area.
But these academies, you know, you have to load the pipeline, and there has to be a resource there
And
to
I
fund
understand that.
troopers, officers. The slots have to be there for them to fill. When number one, you're trying to attract maximum number of recruits going into the
So
academies.
would we be
then you're trying to
funding
graduate.
that? Or is that a county process?
The county coordinates.
The county is undergoing a massive campaign of recruitment and trying to get folks through the academy as quickly as they can, but also within the time frame that, quite frankly, they have to abide by before you
Mr.
turn.
Supervisor, just so I'm clear, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Okay, further discussion on them.
So I think, the point being made here is this is a proposal to add $287,000 to our budget to acquire a position that we can't get. And we just had our fire service in here last week begging us to find a way to provide more resources to them. I just think this is not responsible. If the sheriff could do this, he would have indicated he could do it. So I'm gonna be opposing this.
I'd like to say something.
Sure, go ahead.
Folks, I'm a non-voting member, just for clarification, as a deputy supervisor. My background is with, I'm a retired state trooper. So, John, my concern is residents of Malta, though they don't have a town tax, they would be getting taxed twice for services that are for the sheriff's department. If the crime in the county has gone up twice or double the violent crime, I would want the sheriff to be able to staff the deputies where that crime is, and not based on what jurisdiction or what town is going to pay them more money. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt.
This is
One other thing.
dedicated.
From the time if somebody wants to become a police officer and takes the exam, you're looking at least 1 year out. So even if you pass this money tonight, it wouldn't be spent. There wouldn't be another deputy that they'd be able to bring into Malta for at least another year. That's all.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I think when we just acknowledge that we are a little flush, and when the time arises and the need arises, like we did the last time, we acted instead of putting something aside that might not get used, might not be the best utilization of money that could be used elsewhere, and or which will eventually come up during the year, which always does.
Agreed.
And I appreciate people's willingness to listen to me. I mean, when we did this the first year, of course, it took months to get it off the ground to begin with. That's understood. But to have the resource there allows a planning process to take place. They can look and say, okay, we are going to need this many additional graduates because we know we've got this many slots to fill. And if we put our money out there, as I've proposed, the folks in charge of this, the sheriff, can see this is the goal I need to try and reach in terms of the number of recruits and my number of hires. If we don't have that, he doesn't know that he's got to try and find people. In terms of the fire protection expenses, of course, that is a property tax by law. This is not going to be a property tax. We have millions and millions and millions of dollars of fund balance, unappropriated, undesignated. We've never had more money in this town. Okay, I am proposing that we use those funds.
That's close to 10, I think.
And the funds, when I looked today, not including reserves, not including earmarked funds, it's got to be $6 to $8 million. I mean, it's a huge pool of money that we're just sitting on. And in the face of statistics that show crime growing, I really feel I needed to make this attempt. And again, I understand how voting works. I appreciate everyone's willingness to listen to me.
Thank you, John. And just in closing, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I think everyone up here knows how I feel about law enforcement. I was really the catalyst, so to speak, that got the law enforcement contract here to begin with. First time we've had one in this town. And I'm not saying that for a pat on the back or credit. It's just to show I see the importance in it. But at the same time, we're talking fiscal responsibility. As with our firefighting, EMS, it doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. I can have a bowl full of money or a pot or what have you, but I'm not going to look for ways to spend it if in fact I don't need to. And I'm not suggesting that you're saying that. But as I've seen it and as I've had talks with the sheriff in the course of 2 years and I've talked with other town supervisors in the last 2 years and serve on the public safety committee for the county, we're not at a place, even in my unofficial opinion, but also to echo what Sheriff Zerlo said, his gut reaction or his gut feeling is, we're not in a position where we've got crime that's running amok in Malta, thank God. I mean, for the most part, the dedicated service of the sheriff's department we have in town now with our deputies is addressing really a need that we've all talked about at many meetings, and that is basically traffic related. Yes, there are other things. It's not just traffic, period, but there's other things as well. But they're really on a smaller scale. We don't have murders, thank God. We don't have those things that are just taking control of Malta. So, to the contrary, if we did have those things, I would be the first guy here tonight saying, okay, you're right, John, let's double it. We need more people in town. Just in my opinion, I don't see that as the case, and that's why I will not support it. Thank you. Any further discussion?
I am going to support it because I know for a fact that the juvenile jail down in Albany, you used to have an average of 3 to 5 juveniles in there. Through the 8 years that I've been into it. At this point here, we are absolutely maxed out. And I asked the board, why is that? It's juveniles are coming in, it's the immigrants, and the crimes are getting more violent. Where they used to stay 5 days, they're staying in there 1 to 3 years. The jail space is filling up. And it's juveniles that are getting younger. And I know that a second sheriff's car, for a fact, it would bring on a proper image before the problems start to happen. So I am going to support it.
I think one of the problems, John, is there is not another sheriff's deputy car to hire.
We know that.
Right.
But the fact is, the money is there, and it'll show the sheriff that he's got to have more training. If it comes up, we can get it, hopefully.
Is the sheriff asking for more money? Does he say that's the problem for recruitment, that he doesn't have enough money to hire?
No,
No, well,
no, that's not it.
No.
the staffing issue.
Let's proceed.
Okay, further discussion? So we will vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed?
No.
No,
Nay? Clerk will reflect 3 nay votes, please.
Again, thank you for listening to me in the proposal.
Thank you, John and Craig.
And I believe the motion is on the table for to approve the budget?
Yes, it is. Do we have any further discussion on that? I'll wait till John gets back. Okay, on the budget, 2024. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to adopt C2, C9 zoning district.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion.
I just had a question here, process-wise, Steve. Do we need to go through the secra determination, or are we?
The resolution, I think that addresses it,
Yeah.
that we're making a finding with respect
Okay.
to it, so
All right.
specific question.
No, I just wanted to make sure we had that covered.
Great. So, we motion a second? Okay. Just
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No?
Carried? Thank you. Next item is to designate town health, dental, and vision plan.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is carried. Next item on the agenda is the TAP grant, Route 9 South.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion.
Just from my read of this, it looks like this will be a grant to connect sidewalks from Nabner Road to Saratoga Village, I believe. And I think that's a great thing. I mean, it's on nearly a daily basis. You go down Route 9 and there are people walking to work or to shop up and down Route 9 on the side of the road. And I think this will remove a major safety issue. So I'm glad to see this proceeding.
Absolutely, and when I discussed this with planning, that was our thought as well, is that while there may be other areas where we could use this grant, we thought, something, when folks are walking on Route 9, it's
Smart.
it's really kind of a no-brainer. So that's why we're undertaking this and looking forward to it. So,
Board members, if I could just clarify that. This is similar to the request that Councilman Hartzell indicated to the community gardens, that this is a resolution to support the grant application.
Right.
The actual project is still.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would be worked on in engineering and all.
We have to get the grant. Yeah.
Right, and there's bonus points in the application process if the board does support this and they submit it.
We have a
And it's,
secret weapon named Adrian that's working on this, so I'm confident. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda brings me personally great joy. This is the Cornthwaite easement to set the public hearing for 11/27. And this is, actually, this will be the very first conservation easement, once this goes through, and I'm confident that it will, that the town of Malta, that we did on our own. Barbara Connors can remember back when I chaired the Open Space Committee. Maybe there's some other folks here as well, but I know Barbara was on it, and we launched this, and it's a reminder to me how long it takes to get one of these conservation easements actually completed. But I'm very proud, very happy for a number of reasons that this is gonna happen finally after, 3 years at least, I think it's been, 4 years maybe? It's been a long time. So I'm very happy about this, and I hope that this becomes catchy, to be honest with you.
I'm sorry. Move the resolution?
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is to declare surplus property and list a dollhouse parcel.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. And next item on the agenda is to authorize the closing of the pickleball courts repair capital project.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried. And finally, we have to authorize the closing of Luther Forest Athletic Fields Improvement Capital Project as well.
So moved?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that is carried.
I like all these projects coming in under budget, Kristen. That's good to see.
So at this time, do we have any additional comments from the floor?
I got something too at the end.
Barbara Connors.
You got to keep it brief. The Bills kick off soon, you know.
I'm sorry?
The Bills kick off soon. You have to keep it really brief. No, kidding.
They've got it. Mark, I did just want to thank you. You were underestimating the amount of time that this Cornthwaite property proposal has been in the pipeline. And by my calculation, we are now on at least our third rec department person who has been involved in this. It started way back with Audrey Ball. We've had change in staff in the planning department, our second town attorney. I mean, there's been a lot of a trail here, and I thank you so much for sticking with it and moving this forward. I am biased. I happen to be very fond of this piece of property, and I think it's a great addition and a great new way to preserve property, the historic property. It's very interesting and special and has a long history. I believe only 2 different families, is that right, Miles, have owned that property? The Rileys and the Cornthwaites, and the whole time of the existence of Malta. So it's pretty unusual and an amazing house on it. And I know that Miles started talking to Audrey Ball about ways of preserving and using that land many years ago. So thank you to you for sticking with it, moving the ball a little further down the line if we're going to do football words. And I hope it goes forward. And if there's anything that I can do or say at the time to help this move forward, I would love to hear about it, because I think it's a great, again, when Kevin King came up with the way of financing this, and I think it was very creative. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Mark, I know Al had something to say. I don't want to.
Al, you got something?
I believe the South Shore Marina project has been officially withdrawn. Is that correct?
Yes, it was.
So the condos that are planned at Saratoga Lake will not be happening right now.
I think it's going to be a compost facility down there now. Seaweed's going to get dumped there.
We'll see what's next.
No, thank you. Anyone else from the floor have anything? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Timothy Bolt. I'm a resident of Miller Road, and I'm here on behalf of my neighbors to ask for an update on the traffic study. I know recently a digital sign was posted up on the road. We were told it was a data acquisition system. I went and looked at the sign myself and verified that. I'm an engineer. So I wanted to ask what the plan was for analyzing that data. How much time would you allow the sign to be up to pull data? And then
Our highway superintendent might be able to shed more light on it, since he is in charge of our roads.
Okay.
And I know that his secretary, I believe, has been compiling the data or taking the data from the sign. So, Roger, if you've got anything to say, we'd love to hear it.
Sent the data to the town board.
Yeah, we've seen the data, but
Yep,
who else is it sent to?
that's it, that's it.
So to answer your
So you're-
question, the application is still at the Department of Transportation, and they have not given us any update of when they will conclude and/or, in fact, take the study on, what date that is.
okay, thank you.
And here's the information from the report. Appears the largest speed recorded was 5 miles over the 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. It says some within 10 miles per hour of 40 and a few over 10 mile. I'm not sure what that means. But
There was some,
My house is right in front of that sign. I can verify explicitly clear that it is not entirely accurate to what the sign displays.
This is data that came from Mr. Crandall's secretary, who went out and retrieved the data.
I think the issue
don't
is
doubt
the
that.
characterization. They're saying the largest group of speeding was 5 miles.
Yeah, you might get
or
some
less,
people that are
but
gonna
there
be
were
above
speeds.
that.
Oh, there was people over 65.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's an average speed,
So,
not an absolute.
We got a whole readout of.
I apologize. I'm looking at the report rather than her explanation of it. The average daily speed, the average of vehicles passing was around 40 miles an hour. There were, let's see, I'm looking at just 1 week of this, but about anywhere from 300 to 400 vehicles per day.
That's a lot of cars for Miller Road.
Speeders of more than 5 miles an hour looks to be about a third. Speeders greater than 10 miles based on the average speed, 30 to 40. And then there does appear to be a handful, about a dozen or so, 15 miles over the speed limit.
What's the board's opinion of that first assessment?
That we can't do anything until we have a report from state DOT. I mean, it's pretty discouraging. If you want that data, you know, you can either convince the supervisor's office to provide it for you, or make a freedom of information request.
Through the petitions.
Data can be yours.
I would appreciate that. I can talk to whomever I need to work through that
A
process.
FOIL request can go to the town clerk if you're so inclined to do that, or you might want to catch Mark after.
And that
It's up to you.
information is provided to me by Highway. I would suggest that you try with Highway and get the data. She's the one that's collecting it and sending it to me. I have no problem providing it, but to take one link out of the chain and get it directly, Highway gets the data. I don't know when Nancy goes, how often she does it.
Okay.
She does download it.
To answer your question, the board was in favor of the petition of a lower speed limit. You know, the discussion was, well, we're going to do the traffic study by the Department of Transportation, or do we pay forever for any kind of traffic study that we want to do to end up on the same desk that the stamp may get approved or disapproved? So we were all in favor of it. That's why the town had submitted the application. So we're not against it. We're for it. We sent it, and we have to wait for determination from Department of Transportation if they will grant that or not.
Is there any data on how long these types of requests are taking with DOT?
As we discussed last time, it can take up to a year for them to respond.
Okay. And then last question, have you given any additional thought into the installation of a stop sign at strategic locations?
Before the study comes back, I don't see that that's really relevant at this time. If
So we
we
couldn't-
choose to go further beyond a speed reduction and solicit an engineering report and pay for that report to go through and do more things, and if the board at that time determines that it's suitable to do that, then so be it. But at this time, I think it's premature to just jump out and put stop signs.
We can't,
No, I mean,
Can't.
no.
How come?
The engineering firm that I contacted has said to us that it's best till we hear back from the state before taking any other action.
I'm not going to get the right verbiage. Maybe, John, the manual that says you can't use a traffic sign to
Yeah,
control
I'm sorry
speed.
to-
down speed.
It's,
You'll forgive me because I've been around a long time, obviously, but what the concept of is that traffic control measures that we actually deploy in the field are supposed to be consistent with the manual of uniform traffic control devices. And if they're not, it actually can create a hazard and open the town up to liability. So you just don't do that. So you really need an engineer to take consideration of both speed factors and then the physical factors in the field to make judgment about what kind of control devices are appropriate. We really can't just do that as a town board on an ad hoc basis. You're an engineer, right? I mean, so you understand that, right?
Yes, sir.
thank you, John.
Thank you,
Yes,
board
thank you,
members.
John.
I knew it was in there somewhere.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
hey, Mark, I don't want to cut anybody off, but I do have one item.
Go ahead.
I noticed that there's 3 exceptionally talented young people in the back row who are here probably trying to get credit for class. And I was hoping that they would just introduce themselves and give us a sentence or two on what they're planning to do with their lives.
So you think that they have to be here tonight? They didn't just choose to come to the meeting tonight?
I
They
can
got nothing
understand
else
why
to
they,
do?
I think they need a signature, don't they?
Hi, my name is Natalia Guthrie. I'm a senior at Balsas Spa High School, and I did come to this for a class credit. I am enrolling at the Florida Institute of Technology to study biomedical engineering.
wow,
Awesome.
good for you.
Great. Thank you. Glad to have you.
Right, so my name is Julia Cressman. I'm also here for class credit. Go to the same high school, Balsas Spa High School, I'm a senior too. And the class we need this for is actually an early college high school class. And I haven't figured out what college I'm going to yet, but I'm planning on going into engineering.
Clarkson University is your answer.
Department of Transportation Engineer.
Hi, my name is Carly Cuttyman. I go to Balsas Spa too, same reason, and I'm planning on majoring in marketing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mark, one thing if you'll permit me, and because I'm so old and such a sage, is I would encourage you, your community, wherever you live, is going to need you to be involved. You obviously are bright and talented, and I really hope that you'll get involved in your community in some way to help them and provide leadership. You can see most of us are pretty old that are doing this, and we need young people to understand how important it is that they take the baton and provide leadership. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you. And
I take out my senior.
I hope that it was everything you thought it was going to be tonight. So
You can watch it on YouTube if you want to see yourselves, by the way.
You got to come to the podium.
Or we
I don't
can
know if-
share it with the whole school if you
I don't know if the camera angle can get you, but if you came to the podium, you'd be on tape.
well, thank you, ladies, for attending tonight. Anyone else?
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn.
everyone.
Good night, folks.